Okay, let's dive right into today's explainer, where we are exploring the wild rules of dating, the absolute devastating abyss of heartbreak, and, most importantly, the ultimate roadmap to actually healing. Have you ever wondered why a really bad breakup can literally feel like the end of the world? Well, the sources we're unpacking today take us on this profound journey. We're going to move from a joyful leap of faith straight into a crushing betrayal and finally arrive at a masterclass on self-love and recovery. It is quite a ride, so let's get into it. So our story begins with this incredibly joyous, bold woman named Elmira. Her whole philosophy on love is beautifully summed up by her personal motto: I don't do rules, I just express myself. And she really lived that. Elmira completely ignored that traditional, wait for him to make the first move dating rulebook. Instead, she just confidently walked right up to a man she saw at a golf course. They ended up talking from morning coffee all the way through lunch, just chatting about everything from their favorite colors to their life goals. And guess what? That exact man ended up becoming her husband, and they shared many wonderful years together. Now, to date openly, to really express yourself authentically like Elmira did, it requires you to put your absolute truest self out there. It takes massive vulnerability. But that same beautiful openness kind of sets the stage for a unique type of pain. What actually happens when you throw out the rulebook, hand someone your trust, and they completely shatter it? Section 1. The Sting of Heartbreak and the Baltimore Hotel. Fast forward years later. After her husband had sadly passed away, Elmira found herself back in the dating scene. She had planned this deeply romantic evening with a new man named Antoine at a Days Inn over in Baltimore. And this story really shows us exactly how high the emotional stakes are when you open your heart again. She had lovingly set up all these lit candles in the room, a romantic gesture she actually based on a dream he'd shared with her. But after they were intimate, Antoine just abruptly left, though he promised to come right back. By 9 p.m., she's paging him. Nothing. Absolute silence. By midnight, she is just utterly devastated. She's sitting there, crying, reading her Bible, and eventually wandering over to a hotel vending machine in the dead of night for plain potato chips and Twinkies. By 6 a.m., she's jumping into a cab, desperate to just escape the city. But here is a really fascinating detail. Before Antoine actually left that hotel room, Elmira had written him a check for $50. So while she's waiting for hours at a bus station to get out of town, feeling totally foolish and completely broken, she gets this sudden spark of pure clarity. She picks up the phone, calls her bank, and slaps a stop payment right on that check. As she triumphantly put it later, Elmira sometimes be thinking. It's a slightly humorous moment, sure, but honestly, it's such a vital, powerful spark of self-preservation right in the middle of a traumatic experience. Section 2. Finding Comfort in Community. Now, the extreme isolation of that lonely Baltimore hotel room is a stark contrast to what Elmira did next. She knew she couldn't just go back to her empty college dorm and sulk by herself. So, fleeing to her family in Virginia, she found an immediate emotional lifeline by calling her cousin Kashana. The moment she arrived, Kashana's boyfriend Chris was there to greet her with this sweet, heart-shaped lollipop. And then there's Aunt Shirley, who had a piping hot, comforting meal of chicken nuggets and French fries waiting right there for her. The takeaway here? Surrounding yourself with a loving community, and hey, some good comfort food, is literally the very first step to climbing out of that dark abyss of heartbreak. Community reminds you deep down that you are inherently worthy of love. Section 3. Why breakups hurt deeply. So the Elmira who survived that awful hotel room eventually transformed her pain into a really profound purpose. She adopted the empowering title Dr. E, the self-care boss, and she used all that painful history as fuel. She became a licensed massage therapist and a certified death doula who now specifically specializes in helping people overcome heartbreak. And her professional philosophy is absolutely fascinating. She argues that the profound suffering we feel after a relationship ends is practically identical to mourning a physical death. Both involve the severe, jarring shock of an unexpected loss. Because whether you were together for just a year or an entire decade, you suddenly have to face the terrifying, daunting challenge of figuring out how to navigate your daily life without that person in it. And this is exactly why Dr. E strongly cautions against jumping straight into a new relationship. If you haven't taken the time to heal, you are dating with what she calls clouded vision. You're literally dragging the memories and the emotional trauma of your ex, which are actually stored deep within your physical body as body memory, into a brand new dynamic. It's essentially a recipe for disaster. Section 4. How to Heal Your Heart. Okay, so if we can't just distract ourselves and jump into something new, how do we actually fix this? Well, it's time to take control. There is absolutely no reason you have to suffer for a lifetime over one broken relationship. The real game changer here is Dr. E's OCD method: order, consistency, and discipline. You have to realize that you are the boss of your own self-care. Nobody else is coming to save you. You've got to consistently practice healing routines. And she emphasizes a really great point. Practicing this discipline for even just one single minute every day is vastly more effective than trying to cram in 10 hours of self-care 3 times a year. Consistency is everything. And because grief and those body memories are stored physically, you cannot just think your way out of a bad breakup. You actually have to physically move your body to release that stuck energy. Dr. E literally teaches classes where people dance and utilize what she calls 5 magical moves for heartbreak. You really have to physically shake off that pain to naturally allow the grief to release. Section 5. Post-traumatic growth. Ultimately, the goal isn't to just survive and live forever with post-traumatic stress. The goal is post-traumatic growth. It's about using the breakup as a springboard to evolve, to establish fierce boundaries, and to do the necessary shadow work. Facing your own fears and insecurities head on so you never repeat the same cycle. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative challenge based on Elmira's journey. What are 10 things you actually learned from your last heartbreak? I know it might seem incredibly difficult to do at first, but practicing active gratitude forces you to completely shift your perspective. By answering this question, you take your power right back. You transform your most devastating breakup into your absolute greatest breakthrough. So what did you learn?